We got our Super Bowl teams, and now was officially a rematch of everything. Man, how was everybody feeling? Because I feel like this is I already talked about in my last video that this was basically what nobody kind of wanted, but kind of knew it was going to happen. Now, let's say, let's get out the way. Commanders, all everybody, Jaden Daniels. It was. I was like, that game was not his fault. I was like, by the time it got towards the end of the game, they knew they had to pass so much that they just came for him that Daniel couldn't do anything. But I was like, this was all turnover, all a game of turnover because the Commanders was right there, every step of the way, even with a couple of turnovers. And to be honest, that's sort of how the game with the Eagles went last time, except for the Commanders was able to come out on top. This one, nah, it was a wrap. I was like, Hurts didn't look hurt. I was like, they was able to get some passes off, so that could quell down, that could die down all the people that was like, oh, what about if they have to pass? But I was like, that defense, I was like, hey, when they had to, I was like they was able to get stops. Or I think that was more the important thing because I was like I don't think that they I was like because the commander was still able to go down the field on them. I was like the commander put themselves in a spot where they wasn't able to really run the ball like that. But I do think they got away from it like also quite early as well too to try to sort of overcome those early turnovers. But that I was like that was did it. That was did it because I was like they was able to get the chunk yard. They was able to get down the field. They was right there with the Eagles. But and also they got in that hole from Saquon. Like the second touchdown run by Saquon. Okay, okay. That first one is kind of one of those that it's about to be a long day. Cause that one was that's some stuff that that if you did that on a video game, the game's glitching. The game is letting the computer type of win. I was like, somebody's mashing buttons because those. I was like, cause like he just sometimes just do moves in like spots where it's just kind of like it's like you should have been tackled there, and it's like no, I'm not. I was like, I got a 90 overall. Um, yeah, I was like that one just showed the show like oh it's gonna be a long day, but like I said, they was right there. I thought that the defense for the Commanders played fairly well. I was like they didn't really let the Eagles. I was like outside the run, like but when they were going back to pass and even then they did sort of start to stop the running game. After that, Frankie Louvu, I was like, dude from the Carolina Panthers. I was like, totally different dude than over there. I was like, I thought he was good, but I was like, dude, I was like, dude, a different Baker. I was like, they didn't have Payne out there, and I was like, I think that sort of did hurt them, but I don't think that hurt them enough to be like, that's like the defense was off or not anything like that game. Uh, I do think they shown that they do need. I was like, well, they're not gonna change their secondary because I was like Lattimore they traded for him, and the rest of them are like rookies and stuff like that. So that's pretty much how they're gonna get set up with their team. Because I was gonna say I would say if there was a weaker spot, I was gonna say that part of it. But Commanders, hey, I was like to be honest, y'all could have easily also been playing for the Super Bowl. I was like, but I was like y'all let that game go. Now to the game that I think that was pretty much pretty even is the Bills and the Chiefs. I think it was pretty even. I was like Patrick Mahomes. I was like didn't go above and beyond. I was like the defense. I was like really kept Patrick. I was like they got to him. They got to him more in a way, and except for really towards the end of the game, they was able to stop and they was able to hold him up. They was able to make sure that it wasn't nothing crazy. And granted, I was like, yeah, they're not that crazy deep ball passing offense anymore. But like in my other video, the reason I said that I think the Chiefs will win against the Bills is because I said they have too many weapons, and I think that was showcased today. Is that their weapons? We don't see them the same. We don't see them how they are. But I was like, they have a lot of players between like I was like, cause I ran them down where it's like it's Kelsey. I was like Hollywood Brown, Xavier Worthy, Juju Smith-Schuster, who you've seen have a bunch of big catches today. I was like DeAndre Hopkins. I was like, Isaiah Xavier, Hollywood Brown. I was like Justin Watson, who played a lot the last couple of years that they just keep him on. I was like there. And they got McCole Hardman, who doesn't really see the field. I was like, they got 8 or 9 people that I was like, if a lot of these guys was on other teams, they will at least be like the third receiver. So at worst, I was like, yeah, they don't have a number one, but they got like several number 2s to 3s that I'm like in this type of offense. I was like, that works. They complement each other better than like if it say it was on another team with a different quarterback. Um, I was like, I think the defense for the Chiefs, I was like, played fairly well. I was like, they kept Josh Allen contained. They didn't fall for any of his deep ball shenanigans. But I was like, and Josh Allen, you saved yourself, buddy. Because I was like, we would have been here. And I was like, well, I say that because I was like, there's a different way that you talk about Josh Allen than other people. But Josh Allen basically would have had a Lamar game if this would have basically ended the same way. Kind of when he came out, those first couple drives, especially those first back-to-back passes, should have been intercepted. And not just that, but he was doing ridiculous stuff with that. For all the praise of he keeps it very calm, look at him and all this other stuff, blah blah. It's like, yeah, okay, that first one should have been intercepted because it's also like, where are you throwing? That one is also jam packed with people. Then the spin move and he threw it back out. And once again, it's like, where else are you throwing to? That, like, by now, I was like, those 2 defenders are right there. Where are you throwing to? And they just happen to not be interceptions. And it's like, lucky for him, that didn't happen. Otherwise, guess what? Would he have cost them the game? Also, where he also about to get sacked. And I was like, he did have the ball out a little loose. But guess what? It's fine. Didn't cost him the game. It's because well, I was like, when he did the up and over, I was like, to get the first down, I was like, with the little tush push, I was like, he fumbled, but I was like, hey, don't worry, they still got the ball, so that way you don't have to count the game. I just hate when people sort of talk about things that's like, I'm like, you should still be able to talk about the play and the team and the player based on what the actions I would like happened, even though the results ain't necessarily there. So it's like nobody's going to talk about the fact that he really about turned over the ball several times. It'll really just be because it didn't happen. You know, like that Lamar interception, the first one, that one didn't really do shit. But we're gonna talk about it because it's an interception in the box score and stuff like that. But I think he played a really good game. Well, a pretty good game to really good game, depending on how you want to look at it. But you can't even say the Chiefs really was over here getting called like you can with the Texans and nothing like that, because they didn't really call too many of that stuff in the game. And I was like, the Bills was also getting their fair share. That Worthy catch, that was not a catch to me, because it's like he only had one arm under it, even when he came down. And it's like, I'm like, yo, it'd be different if he was hucking the ball while like old dude had one arm in there, but it was reversed. And I'm like, no, I was like, that's stupid to me. I hate that. I was like, that was dumb. But even then, they got a penalty on it. Going to another thing I hate before I was like talking about the rest of the game is with the Commanders and the Eagles when they was on the goal line and the Eagles was fake counting to try to get them to jump, and the Commanders jumped. And I was like, I get Luvu did a jump over to Palomalu twice or whatever, and then but the Commander kept jumping, but they kept jumping because they were fake counting, and it's like they were going to get penalized for it to where the Eagles could they could just give them a touchdown. And I was like, what kind of sense does that make? That if they're over here fake counting, if I'm jumping, and it's not like I'm doing like on one or nothing like that, like it's like hut, jump, and it's like, so they're provoking me, but they're going to get points for that. Like, I get if it was over here doing some stuff where it's like, oh, we're deliberately doing the yarder thing, they try to stop the clock or whatever like that. That's one thing. But I was like, that's not what this is, and I was like, that's a dumb rule. But yeah, you got to give it to, once again, I was like, the Bills just come up short just because at the end of the game, Mahomes got the ball, and that's how it goes. Like, that's literally how this whole thing goes. Because they were right there pretty much with him the whole game. Bills having the lead. But James Cook basically was the guy. I was like, was the guy, and I was like, that's sort of the part where it's like with Josh Allen that it's like that's why I said that's why I can't say I was like I was like Allen played like a great game or nothing like that. I was like he played a good game. I was like, but he was also going to be the reason they were going to lose that game at the same time. Cook is the one that pretty much settled everything down, got everything where it needed to be. I was like, got them back in the game, was able to basically make sure that John Allen don't screw this up with any of his stuff. Um, I was like, but I think you also seen that I think you also seen that this is also a reason why where it's like you felt like it was the Bills year, but it's not. So it's like you felt like the Bills year because of the narrative of like that basically started to why he should win the MVP was basically like his team was decimated. It was like he doesn't have the right players. It's going to be a down year, and they just kept on chugging along because they're just like Josh Allen's so great, and even though we're not giving credit to anybody else on that team, but I, but the thing is, I do think that where it does need to get better is sort of at how they sort of use their receivers because I was like Coleman hasn't had. And then like he only done got the ball twice, so it's like okay, so we're not utilizing him. Cooper basically got like two, 3 catches a day. I was like that really was kind of like oh, but we don't really utilize him and his skill set, which I don't know if it necessarily worked with Allen in a way. It's because I was like I don't think he's that type of like Cooper with the Chiefs that works. I was like that's more of a precise type of passing game to me than what Josh Allen does. But I was like Hollins came to play. I was like he stepped it up this year. And we all know Shakir always this little shaking bait razzle dazzle dude, and Curtis Samuel also. I think see those I was like the difference with those two players, Samuel and Shakir, is that they're shifty, find the zone, find the spot type of players more so than I was like where Mac Hollins is really kind of like straight line type of the guy, speed. I was like Keon is jump ball kind of guy, and I was like they didn't use them that way, and I was like you didn't even really use the tight ends that way. I think that showed how much they wanted the ball out of Allen's hands or whatever. I will say that if he would have got that pass to Kincaid, that we would have talked about that in a Patrick Mahomes s way of like, oh my God, he found a way to do it despite all the odds and all the people around him. Um, yeah, I was like that one. That one, I would want to know if he actually knew Kincaid was like actually open, or Kincaid was the one that made that open, where he just sort of threw it up just to be like he's down there somewhere kind of thing. But hey, I was like, I think it was just an even game, and it just rolled right back to the Chiefs, where you can't even say anything about it. And now we get a rematch, and whew, that's gonna be, I think, intriguing, especially more so this time around because I was like, both teams are. I was like, well, the Eagles are a little bit different, but we'll see how that goes. Anyway, I know you're not happy about it, but how do you feel about the rematches? How you feel about the games in general? Anyway, let me know. Until then, peace. I'm out.